Ignatius of Loyola was a Spanish knight from a local Basque noble family, hermit, priest since 1537, and theologian, who founded the Society of Jesus and, on April 19, 1541, became its first superior general. Ignatius emerged as a religious leader during the Counter-Reformation. Loyola's devotion to the Catholic Church was characterized by absolute obedience to the Pope. After being seriously wounded in the Battle of Pamplona in 1521, he underwent a spiritual conversion while in recovery. Vita Christi by Ludolph of Saxony purportedly inspired Loyola to abandon his previous military life and devote himself to labor for God, following the example of spiritual leaders such as Francis of Assisi. After claiming to experience a vision of the Virgin Mary and the infant Jesus at the shrine of Our Lady of Montserrat in March 1522, he went to Manresa, where he began praying for 7 hours a day, often in a nearby cave, and formulating the fundamentals of the spiritual exercises. In September 1523, Loyola reached the Holy Land to settle there, but was sent back to Europe by the Franciscans. Between 1524 and 1537, Ignatius studied theology and Latin in the University of Alcala and then in Paris. In 1534, he arrived in the latter city during a period of anti-Protestant turmoil which forced John Calvin to flee France. Ignatius and a few followers bound themselves by vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. In 1539, they formed the Society of Jesus, approved in 1540 by Pope Paul III, as well as his spiritual exercises approved in 1548. Loyola also composed the constitutions of the Society. He died in July 1556, was beatified by Pope Paul V in 1609, canonized by Pope Gregory XV in 1622, and declared patron of all spiritual retreats by Pope Pius XI in 1922. Ignatius' feast day is celebrated on July 31. Ignatius is a foremost patron saint of soldiers, the Society of Jesus, the Basque country, and the provinces of Guipúzcoa and Biscay. Early life. AA plus or minus Ignazio Loiolakoa de Loyola was born in the municipality of Azpeitia at the castle of Loyola in today's Guipúzcoa, Basque country, Spain. He was baptized AA plus or minus Ignazio, after Saint Enocus, abbot of O plus or minus a medieval Basque name arguably meaning my little one. It is unclear when he started using Ignatius instead of his baptismal name AA plus or minus Ignazio. Ignatius did not intend to change his name but rather adopted for France and Italy a name which he believed was a simple variant of his own, and which was more acceptable among foreigners. The youngest of 13 children, AA plus or minus Ignazio Loiolakoa was brought up by Mara Adigarian, the local blacksmith's wife, after his own mother died soon after his birth. AA plus or minus Ignazio adopted the last name de Loyola in reference of the Basque village of Loyola where he was born. He later became a page in the service of a relative, Juan Vila Zquez de Cue copyright La, treasurer of the Kingdom of Castile. As a young aristocrat, Ignatius had a love of martial exercises and a vainglorious desire for fame. At this period he framed his life around the stories of adventures of El Cid, the Knights of Camelot, and the Song of Roland. Joining the army at 17 he strutted about with his cape slinging open to reveal his tight-fitting hose and boots. A sword and dagger at his waist. Upon encountering a Moor who denied the divinity of Jesus he challenged him to a duel to the death and ran him through. He duelled others until the events of 1521. In 1509, AA plus or minus Ignazio took up arms for Antonio Manrique de Lara, Duke of Nájera and Viceroy of Navarre. According to Thomas Rochford, S.J., his diplomacy and leadership qualities made him a gentle hombre. This made him very useful to the Duke. Under the Duke's leadership, he participated in many battles without injury. But when a French Navarrese army supporting the Navarrese monarchy, expelled in 1512, stormed Pamplona's fortress on May 20, 1521, a cannonball wounded one of his legs and broke the other. Heavily injured, AA plus or minus Ignazio was returned to the castle. He was very concerned about the injuries and had several surgical operations, which were very painful in the days before anesthetics. During this time he read the De Vita Christi, by Ludolph of Saxony, in a Catalan edition. This work influenced his whole life. De Vita Christi is the result of 40 years of work by Ludolph. It is a commentary on the life of Jesus Christ, a commentary on the Gospels borrowing extracts from the works of over 60 of the Fathers of the Church. Ludolph particularly quotes Saint Gregory the Great, Saint Basil, Saint Augustine and the Venerable Bede. Ludolph proposes to the reader that he place himself at the scene of the Gospel story. That he visualize the crib at the Nativity etc. etc. This is known as a method of prayer called simple contemplation and is the basis of the method that St. Ignatius sets out in his spiritual exercises. Religious conversion and religious life. During his period of convalescence in 1521, Ignatius read a series of religious texts, on the life of Jesus and on the lives of the saints. He became fired with an ambition to lead a life of self-denying labor and to emulate the heroic deeds of Francis of Assisi and other great monastics. He resolved to devote himself to the conversion of non-Christians in the Holy Land. Upon recovery, he visited the Benedictine monastery, Santa Maria de Montserrat, where he hung his military vestments before an image of the Virgin. He then traveled on foot, to the town of Manresa, and spent several months in a cave near where he practiced rigorous asceticism. Ignatius also began seeing a series of visions in full daylight while in hospital. These repetitive visions appeared as a form in the air near him and this form gave him much consolation because it was exceedingly beautiful. It somehow seemed to have the shape of a serpent and had many things that shone like eyes, but were not eyes. He received much delight and consolation from gazing upon this object. But when the object vanished he became disconsolate. In 1523, he instituted a pilgrimage to the Holy Land on a path of self-denial and sacrifice. He briefly remained from September 3 to 23 but was not permitted to stay. 12 years later, standing before the Pope with his companions, he again proposed sending his companions as emissaries to Jerusalem. Returning to Spain, he and his companions were occupied in the University of Alcalá with the task of making disciples of women called as witnesses by the Inquisition under the direction of Magistrate Alonso Mejías. Although the Alumbrados, illuminati, enlightened ones of Spain were linked in their zeal and spirituality to the Franciscan reforms of which Cardinal de Cisneros was a promoter, the administrators of the Inquisition had mounting suspicions. These female disciples, do plus or minus a Leo, do plus or minus a Maria, and do plus or minus a Beatriz was so hysterically zealous that one fell senseless, another sometimes rolled about on the ground, another had been seen in the grip of convulsions or shuddering and sweating in anguish. This suspicious activity had taken place while Ignatius and his companions were regularly preaching in public. Because of his street corner perorations being identified with the activities of the Alumbrados, Ignatius was naturally singled out for inspection as one of these visionaries. However, he was later released. After these adventurous activities, he studied at the ascetic college de Montaigu of the University of Paris, where he remained over 7 years. In later life, he was often called Master Ignatius. This title was due to his taking a master's degree from the before-mentioned university at the age of 43. By 1534 he had gathered 6 key companions, all of whom he met as fellow students at the Universidad Francis Xavier, Alfonso Solmerin, Diego Lainez, and Nicolas Barbadella, all Spanish. Peter Faber, a Frenchman. And Simão Poundo Rodrigues of Portugal. Later he was joined by Saint Francis Borgia, a member of the House of Borgia who was the main aide of Emperor Charles V, and other nobles. On the morning of the 15th of August, 1534, in the chapel of Church of St. Peter, at Montmartre, Loyola and his 6 companions, of whom only one was a priest, met and took upon themselves the solemn vows of their lifelong work. Ignatius of Loyola was the main creator and initial superior general of the Society of Jesus, a religious organization of the Catholic Church whose members, known as Jesuits, served the Pope as missionaries. He is remembered as a talented spiritual director. He was very vigorous in opposing the Protestant Reformation and promoting the following Counter-Reformation. He was beatified and then canonized and received the title of saint on March 12, 1622. He is the patron saint of the provinces of Guipúzcoa and Biscay along with the Society of Jesus. Ignatius Loyola wrote Spiritual Exercises, a simple 200-page set of meditations, prayers, and various other mental exercises, from 1522 to 1524. The exercises of the book were designed to be carried out over a period of 28 to 30 days. Father General of the Jesuits. Ignatius was chosen as the first superior general of his religious order, invested with the title of Father General by the Jesuits. He sent his companions as missionaries around Europe to create schools, colleges, and seminaries. Juan de Vega, the ambassador of Charles V at Rome, had met Ignatius there. Esteeming him and the Jesuits, when Vega was appointed Viceroy of Sicily, he brought Jesuits with him. A Jesuit college was opened at Messina. Success was marked, and its rules and methods were afterwards copied in other colleges. In 1548 Spiritual Exercises was finally printed, and he was briefly brought before the Roman Inquisition, but was released. Ignatius wrote the Jesuit constitutions, adopted in 1554, which created a monarchical organization and stressed absolute self-abnegation and obedience to Pope and superiors. His main principle became the Jesuit motto, Ad meo rendere gloriam. The Jesuits were a major factor in the Counter-Reformation. During 1553–1555, Ignatius dictated his life story to his secretary, Father Gonas Section Alves da Cas Saint Mara. This autobiography is a valuable key for the understanding of his spiritual exercises. It was kept in the archives for about 150 years, until the Bollandists published the text in Acta Sanctorum. He died in Rome on July 31, 1556, as a result of the Roman fever, a severe case of malaria that recurred in Rome, Italy, at different points in history. Canonization and Legacy. Ignatius was beatified by Pope Paul V on July 27, 1609 and canonized by Pope Gregory XV on March 12, 1622. His feast day is celebrated annually on July 31, the day he died. Saint Ignatius is venerated as the patron saint of Catholic soldiers, the military ordinariate of the Philippines, the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Baltimore, the Basque Country and various towns and cities in his native region. Ignatius has, to this day, a powerful and respectable legacy. Of the institutions dedicated to Saint Ignatius, one of the most famous is the Basilica of St Ignatius Loyola, built next to the house where he was born in Azpeitia, the Basque Country, Spain. The house itself, now a museum, is incorporated into the Basilica complex. In addition, he has had a big international impact, having been the influence numerous Jesuit schools and educational institutions worldwide. Genealogy, Shield of O+Rs Loyola. The Shield of O+Rs Loyola is a symbol of St. Ignatius' family's O+Rs lineage, and is used by many Jesuit institutions around the world. As the official colors of the Loyola family are maroon and gold, the O+Rs shield consists of 7 maroon bars going diagonally from the upper left to the lower right on a gold field. The bands were granted by the King of Spain to each of the O+Rs brothers, in recognition of their bravery in battle. The Loyola shield features a pair of rampant grey wolves flanking each side of a cooking pot. The Loyola name was a contraction of the words Lobo Loyola, which literally meant wolf and pot in Spanish. The wolf was a symbol of nobility, while the entire design represented the family's generosity towards their military followers. According to legend, wolves had enough to feast on after the soldiers had eaten. Both shields were combined as a result of the intermarriage of the two families in 1261. Lineage, Villas-Lada established the following detailed genealogy of St. Ignatius. Lope do +/-Rs, A Garca a la cubed pes do +/-Rs, A la cubed pes Garca a do +/-Rs, wife, Ina copyright S, Dame of Loyola Euro unit of families, A daughter, Ina copyright S do +/-Rs y Loyola, husband, Juan par copyright Res, A John Juan par copyright Res, A Gil la cubed pes do +/-Rs, A other 5 brothers, Beltra N equal or more than ± Isda. Loyola, son of John Juan, wife, Ochanda Martinez de Leite from Azpeitia, A. Sanka Iba equal or more than plus or minus is de Loyola, husband, Lope Garca de Lozano, married, 4-3-1413, A. heir, Juan Pa copyright Res de Loyola, A. Maria Beltranch, A. Elvira, A. Emilia, A. Wineca, Juan Pa copyright Res de Loyola, son of Sanka Iba equal or more than plus or minus is, wife, Sanka Pa copyright Res de Irritar, A. Don Beltra Enya equal or more than plus or minus is de O plus or minus as Y Loyola, wife, Do plus or minus a Marina Zar Eanes de Lycona, married, 13-7-1467 r. 13 children, 1. Juan Pa copyright Res de Loyola, 2 era Euro Don Marta N. Garca Adio plus or minus as Y Loyola, wife, Magdalena de Arroz, married, 11-9-1498, a Euro order uncertain. Ocoa Pa copyright Res de Loyola. Juan Beltra N. de Loyola. Beltra N. de Loyola. Hernando de Loyola. Piero la cubed Pez Dio plus or minus as Y Loyola. Juaniza de Loyola, wife of Juan Marinez de Alzaga, notary from Azpeitia. Magdalena de Loyola, wife of Juan la cubed Pez de Glaztegui, notary from Anzuela. Sanka Iba equal or more than plus or minus is de Loyola. Petronila de Loyola, wife of Pedro Ocoa de Arola. Maria Beltra N. de Loyola, wife of Domingo de Aruadu, 13. Year plus or minus Igo la cubed Pez de Loyola. Bibliography, primary, Ignatius of Loyola, Spiritual Exercises, London, 2012. Lemovia.net ISBN 978-1-78336-012-3, Loyola, Ignatius. The Spiritual Exercises of St. Ignatius. Anthony Matola. Garden City, Doubleday. ISBN A978-0-385-02436-5 Loyola, Ignatius. Joseph O'Connor, ed. The Autobiography of St. Ignatius. New York, Benzija Brothers. OCLCA 1360267 A. Loyola, Ignatius. John Olin, ed. The Autobiography of St. Ignatius Loyola, with related documents. New York, Fordham University Press. ISBN A0-8232-1480-X. Voss, Michael. The Founding of the Jesuits, 1540. Turning Points in History Series. London, Hamilton. ISBN A0-241-01513-8 Secondary, Bartoli, Danilo. History of the Life and Institute of St. Ignatius de Loyola, founder of the Society of Jesus. New York, Edward Dunigan and Brother, Caraman, Philip. Ignatius Loyola, A Biography of the Founder of the Jesuits. San Francisco, Harper and Row. ISBN A0-06-250130-5 O'Malley, John W. The First Jesuits. Cambridge, Harvard University Press. ISBN A0-674-30312-1 Miesner, William. Ignatius of Loyola, The Psychology of a Saint. New Haven, Yale University Press. ISBN A0-300-06079-3 Garca Villaslada, Ricardo. San Ignacio de Loyola, Nueva Biografía. La Editorial Carta Publica. ISBN A84-220-1267-7 Other works. The Spiritual Exercises of St. Ignatius, TAN Books, 2010. ISBN 978-0-89555-153-5 Biographies, Life of St. Ignatius of Loyola, TAN Books, 1997. ISBN 978-0-89555-345-4 St. Ignatius of Loyola, TAN Books, 2008. ISBN 978-0-89555-624-0. See also, List of Catholic saints, List of Jesuits, Marie Madeleine Tuati, foundress of the Sisters, Faithful Companions of Jesus, Mater N. Ignacio de Loyola, the Cave of St Ignatius, a sanctuary built where Ignatius of Loyola reflected for 11 months in a grotto, in Manresa. Isabella Rosa and Isabel de Josa, wealthy Catalan women who were Loyola's benefactors from the 1520s onwards. References. External links: St Ignatius of Loyola, Confessor, Butler's Lives of the Saints, works by or about Ignatius of Loyola in libraries, The Spiritual Exercises of St Ignatius, translation by Elder Mullen, S.J., Letters of St Ignatius of Loyola. On Perfect Obedience is his most famous. Contemplation to Attain Love, by Ignatius of Loyola, the Goa Jesuit province of the Society of Jesus, founder's statue in St. Peter's Basilica, St. Ignatius College, Finding God in All Things, the Book of Spiritual Exercises of St. Ignatius Loyola, the founder of the Jesuit monastic order in Arabic, dating from 1773.